There's another question I have, anonymous question, if we
Mhm.
could get to it. So the question is about imposter syndrome. Is it something that's diagnosable? This person feels like they're experiencing imposter syndrome and also a bit of anxiety, and wondering if there's a connection there, and how that works in terms
Yeah,
of a potential diagnosis, is what I'm understanding from the question.
excellent question. And so, imposter syndrome is not, although it's called a syndrome, is not an official diagnosis. And so, I want to be clear about that. Just because you struggle with imposter syndrome, it doesn't mean you have a diagnosis of any sort. And actually, when the topic was first researched, they called it a phenomenon. And that's because it was sort of just, it was an observation. It was a pattern of behavior that they observed. But what differentiates imposter syndrome from a mental health condition is how persistent, pervasive, and chronic it is. So as I said before, imposter syndrome tends to be kind of bound to uh, somewhere where you're being sort of intellectually evaluated, most of the time work. Uh, Whereas anxiety tends to be much more all encompassing. You generally feel it in multiple areas of your life. Um, so it tends to be more pervasive, it tends to be more persistent. Imposter syndrome tends to have periods where it flares, right? Like it gets a little bit worse and then it gets a little bit better because it's kind of set off by those challenges. Um, so Imposter syndrome, though, is very closely related to anxiety. It can lead to anxiety, or anxiety can lead to imposter syndrome. So it's one of those types of things. But just because you have one doesn't mean you have the other. Does that make sense?
Yes, that
Yeah.
does make sense. Thank you. People are just saying in the chat this has been extremely helpful, and to
I'm
thank
so glad.
everyone who's shared privately as well as publicly.
Yeah.
So there's another question here too, about what were all the four keys.
Yeah.
Could you get to that, Melody? Would you mind?
Yeah. And I'm not sure if there were exactly four, but what I would say is um, reframing, as I was talking about, changing your thoughts, working on claiming and internalizing your achievements, kind of broadly, number two. And then number three, so when I teach this in workshops, I call it reframe it, claim it, and sustain it. So reframing your thoughts, claiming and internalizing your achievements, and then sustaining healthier behaviors. So under reframe it, that's where we have the idea of reframing, taking a different perspective. That's that naming your inner critic, the rule of five that I mentioned, claiming it, internalizing your achievements. That's your brag file. That's the DIY 360. I'll also throw in one for good measure. For any of you that over apologize, I'm sorry I did this. Um, Switching I'm sorry for thank you. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for your patience. Um, Watch in your language how you are undermining yourself. And then last is sustain it. So that is creating healthier boundaries was the main one that we talked about, but also even just realizing that imposter syndrome is a sign that you are pushing yourself and achieving. Uh, so yeah, and I'm just keeping an eye
The
on the
final
chat
question
as
was for you
well.
to actually share your book title again. So if I'll put it in,
Oh,
and her book comes out on May
yeah, and I
4th.
so I have it right here.
Oh,
I
awesome.
have it right here. So it's called Trust Yourself, Stop Overthinking, and Channel Your Emotions for Success at Work. And thank you for the plug.
I'll put the
So it comes out, yeah, it comes out May 4th. And for anyone who particularly, I didn't touch on it too much, but I mentioned earlier on that I tend to work with people who are highly sensitive. So if you identify with that, this book is really about this personality type that I call a sensitive striver. So someone who is a deep feeler and a deep thinker, but also very driven in their career. And that comes with tremendous positives. You're very conscientious, thoughtful, empathetic, emotionally intelligent. So tremendous positives. But if those qualities are not managed effectively, it can lead to other challenges like imposter syndrome, stress, perfectionism, people pleasing, all of that sort of stuff. So that is what the book is about, and it's designed to be very highly actionable. There's lots of there's a worksheet at the end of every chapter. Yeah, so if you enjoyed this, then I'll put the link in the chat where you can get it. And we have some bonuses if you pre-order, some pretty cool bonuses.
Some people, including myself, are pre-ordering right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It means in pre-orders, you should know, if you don't already, they are so meaningful to authors. They make a huge difference in the success of the book. So thank you. Thank you all for doing that.
You're welcome. You deserve it. This has been wonderful. Thank you
Yeah,
so much, Melody. This is great.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Does anyone have anything else that they'd like to ask quickly or mention, comment? And Janice said, Jen is thanking you for switching up the I'm sorry with thank you.
Is your book going to be available on Audible, Melody?
It will. The audiobook is not up yet, but it will be.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Excellent. And there was a question in the chat that asked about this recording of this session. This session will be recorded and edited, and we'll put it onto the Kunik website. So I will go through and I'll try to tag everyone that was in the on the chat today and let you guys know when it comes on. Just a few days, it'll be up there. Also, at the very end of this call, I'm going to put up a poll. It's a 3-question, very quick poll. If you wouldn't mind answering a couple of questions for us, that would be very helpful.
Perfect.
Anyone else?
Any last questions? Yeah, while we're here. Thank you, everyone. I'm just, again, for you making time. I know how busy each of you is, so I appreciate you taking time out of your day for this, and appreciate you all being here and being willing to talk about this touchy subject. So
it is a difficult subject, and people are thanking us for it, but also thank you guys. Sharing this stuff is really, really tough, and we appreciate it so much. We're all in this together, so it feels really good to have feel welcome to share what we have to say. It's really good. I'm glad that we're providing this environment, and I'm glad that I'm a part of this environment with you guys.